All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to our information session for FourthBrain. It's so nice to see all of you here. I see a lot of people in the chat already starting to ask questions and introducing themselves. That's great. My name is Molly Larkin. I'm the Director of Operations at FourthBrain. I'll be running this. We have some staff members and we have some graduates of the program as well. So we are, again, so excited to have you here. Please use the chat at the right hand of your screen. That will be where we will answer some questions in chat, and we'll also be answering some of them live. We will do our best to get to every question. If we don't get to your question, we'll tell you how to continue asking after the fact, and we'll maybe be able to answer some questions in the comments after the program. So I'm going to share my screen, and we'll do this guy. All right, great. So thank you again, everyone, for coming. This is about FourthBrain. I want to tell you a little bit about FourthBrain and sort of what we are doing here. So again, this is some of the team that's here talking to you today, some of our alumni as well, who will be talking a little bit later. But what is FourthBrain? Who are we? What are we about? So we are here to bring more people into AI and ML careers. We want to get more people into this field. If you're here and listening to this, I probably don't need to explain to you that the ML and AI fields are really exploding and the growth potential is just huge. So we want to help more people make that transition into the fields. We also really value people coming from outside of the ML field. So we have a lot of people that are coming who are already in tech, but we also have people coming from outside of tech, outside of traditional ML or software or data roles. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but that's also part of our goal, is to bring people in. I've worked in education for over 10 years with a particular emphasis in alternative education programs, these non-traditional bootcamp style programs. And I'm so happy to be here at FourthBrain. And I think that we've really been building a great team, great student group, great alumni group, and really focusing on some things that work really well. So a couple other things to know about FourthBrain before we really jump into the details. We have a really big focus on the technical skills, of course, but we also try to emphasize some of the other skills that we think make great AI engineers. That includes a focus on ethical considerations in AI and also a focus on communication. These are things that we have found hiring managers really value. And so that will also be an emphasis of the program, and we can talk about that a little bit later. Our focus on the bulk of the program is really hands-on and practical applications of AI and ML. So a few details, just quick note about our machine learning engineer program at a glance. It is 16 weeks long. We incorporate live instruction in addition to work that you do on your own. This is a part-time program. It is intended for people who have full-time commitments. It will be a busy 16 weeks, of course. I'm not gonna sugarcoat that, but you can do it with a full-time commitment, and it is designed for that. Our live instruction happens on Saturdays. And we are also going to be offering a Tuesday, Thursday evening option coming up, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that later. Also, this is a tuition-based program, and the tuition is $6,000. We can talk a little bit more about options to pay a little bit later when I talk about the admissions process. Great. That's a quick overview. I want to hand it off to Sohini. She is our Director of Curriculum, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about the program.
Hello, everyone. Thanks so much, Molly, for the introduction. So my name is Sohini Roy Chowdhury, and again, I've had a career in education as well as in tech for a very long time. So I was a faculty at University of Washington campus. Then after that, I was in Volvo Cars, and I was doing autonomous drive, senior manager for that team. And then since August, we've been, fortunate to have founded this team, FourthBrain, where we actually breathe life into the fact that you need to learn by doing. And that's exactly what our curriculum embodies, that there is a lot of individual work, but there is also a lot of group work. And you learn so much, you're able to cover so much ground just by this whole concept of peer learning and project-based learning. So let me tell you a little bit more about it. So the program structure, as Molly mentioned, that it is a hybrid learning environment, and the whole reason for it to have this live component is so that there is accountability on every single person's part. So during the week, you'll have like 10 to 15 hours worth of work where you watch videos, where you read blogs, and of course there will be offline assignments that, of course you will have support from the whole content team here. So there will be TAs, and then you can reach out to your instructors to do that as well. But the prime component is the virtual in-class session. And the virtual in-class session, again, it seems like a long time, and that's what we are thinking of in doing in 2 blocks. But think about it as one, you will review what we've done, the theme for the whole week, but also you will be doing a very live and a very coherent project for that whole 6-hour slab. So let's say a sample project would be, today you are an MLE at, let's say, Tesla or Uber, and now your manager has asked to do certain tasks. How would you go about delivering it? So the in-class component actually helps with 2 things primarily. First of all, you get to know how a timed assessment would work. And that is a key piece in MLE sort of jobs. Wherever you interview, there's always going to be like a timed assessment. So this will help you, get rid of that anxiety as you work together in groups. And also there's this concept of building your rapport with your classmates, because you work on an assignment, not on your own, but actually in breakout sessions with your peers. So you're actually ending up unblocking others and learning more in the process. So that's the reason why the live sessions are extremely important, and they really go a long way in rooting the whole concepts that you learn in that whole week. And like I mentioned, the first part of the program is more on individual learning, followed by then there is special group assignments or capstone projects that we have. So we have actually been very fortunate to have very key industry sponsored projects work with us in the last cohort. The students can mention, we've had one project with deeplearning.ai, we've had one sponsored project with Samsung, and we continue to have repeated partners in this industry sponsored projects as we go along. So you will be working on capstone projects that are absolutely current, they're necessary in the industry right now, and you'll be able to work on larger scale data set and on the deployment aspects of them as well. So we learn scalability not just on a small vanilla size data set, but you'll actually be working on large scale data set and looking at the final deployable demo, so that you have something to show for, not just in GitHub, but also as an actual demo to talk about to an employer. So going to the next slide. So the program outcomes, let's look at some of the main outcomes for this 16-week engagement that we are talking about. We do have one of the core values of the program is practical knowledge of the latest framework. So you'll see that most of the live assignments or even the offline assignments, you'll always have a link to a paper or more resources, so that if you want to learn more, there is always going to be an opportunity to do that. And we keep everything as current as possible. So the data sets, the papers, or the research, or even the models that we talk about, they are kept very current, not in the last few years only. And then we also learn about system design. So it's not just machine learning models or statistical machine learning or deep learning. You learn about the whole pipeline, what a CI/CD pipeline would look like, so that you can understand about scalability issues and also understand deployment concerns, what might arise. And like Molly mentioned, we do give a huge importance to ethical considerations. So what would be ethical when you are collecting a certain kind of data set? How would you, understand what are the considerations or what the questions you need to answer when you are going in a certain direction of collecting data, let's say, and then building a model around it? And again, we actually have practical experience around communication, because that is one key component that we see among machine learning engineering teams in the industry. Communicating with your peers, communicating with people in other teams, as well as communicating with subject matter experts whenever you are trying to consolidate a model and try to get to the next aspect of the ML model program. So, and some of the tools and platforms that we use, of course, the mode of education is the language Python, and then we teach most of the assignments in TensorFlow, but that doesn't stop most of the teams to work on PyTorch or say some other library whenever they are working on their capstone projects. And I think the students will attest to that about their experience on that. We work on big data problems. We work on Spark, Hadoop, MapReduce. Computational complexity is one big aspect of what we look at. So for every single model we actually discuss in class is what is the computational complexity, so you understand which model to pick in what kind of use cases. We also have a beginner's level understanding of ML ops, where we understand the CI/CD pipelines. And again, actually, we have hands-on experience in AWS as well as GCP. And we also show you how to go about in Azure as well. We do teach AutoML as well. So let's say that you have come up with a ML algorithm, but you want to optimally make sure that the parameters are tuned. So AutoML solutions also are introduced, as well as pipeline solutions, so Kubeflow, MLflow. All of these are actually introduced through the weekly, weekly special topics that you have through this 16-week program. And to learn more, please go to the website and you will see what this 16-week breakdown is and how you're actually going in depth into every single component every single week, so that you learn exactly what to do in industry. You don't freeze. So if you go to industry and they say, okay, this is the project, how would you go about it? So we teach you how to think about, or how to actually even formulate the solution in your head, rather than just teaching you software, because that is what really counts in the industry. Next slide. Coming to the projects, like I mentioned, so we have a two-part curriculum. First part is about the topics of deep learning. I'll not read out everything, but I'll just mention that every single week we have a special topic, and the goal is in the initial part of it, you're doing everything more or less on your own. You're building up your own understandings. We do have a higher focus on application and lesser focus on the mathematical framework, although we discuss both, but our focus is always going to be on the application during part one. And for part two, like we mentioned, that's where we get into the capstone projects. We always have industry sponsored projects that students can choose to work on, or come up with their own projects where they can partner up with students. And I think the students will also mention how they came up with their own project ideas. And then in the second part, we get into the deployment aspect. We get into the CI/CD pipelines. And that's where we see how to churn big data sets and how to work on the big data sets together. So that's the two-part curriculum, and everything is built into this 16-week program. I highly encourage you to go to the website and check out the 16-week syllabus, so that it's clear to you what is happening at what time. Next slide. That's all from it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I see a lot of questions coming in. We'll answer more of them a little bit later. There is one question I see though, Sohini, that I'd like you to answer. And it's a little bit about how we developed the curriculum, what feedback we got, how we were thinking about this. Could you answer that briefly?
Absolutely. So when we were thinking about this whole curriculum, I brought into my own experience, as a senior manager for the Autonomous Drive team, but we actually even took a lot of feedback from a lot of industry partners, understanding what are the pain points, what are the key skills, or what are the things that they would like in MLEs. And most of the time, the answer was they would like the MLEs to be productive from day one. They would like the training time to cut short, so that when given a problem, they would know how to approach it. So it's not the software skills that we saw was lacking, it was the mindset, or how to even approach a new problem. And that's why we started this 16-week program, where we actually go in depth into different kind of problem statements. And then we do, right now we even have an individual project in the first half, and then we are doing these capstone projects, because that's what we learned from the industry partners are important. And also communication, that was a key piece that most hiring managers actually talk to us about, is they would like their MLEs to communicate. If there is a bottleneck, how would they get out of it? Or if there's a limiting condition or the concern, how would they present it? So we actually had a rigorous 2-month process of taking feedback and imbibing that into the syllabus. And that's how the curriculum came into it.
Great.
Thanks for the question, actually.
Yeah, thanks for adding that. Great. I see there's still a lot of questions. We're definitely going to get to them. We'll have a lot of time for questions at the end. But in the meantime, we're going to move on to Miriam talking about career services.
Thanks, Molly. Thanks, Sohini. So a little bit about me. My name is Miriam Salam. I am the Career Services Manager here at FourthBrain. And so I'm here to really talk to you and paint this picture of what career services is going to look like in your journey as a FourthBrain student. So yeah, next slide. So just to kind of echo Sohini's sentiment about, employer engagement, when Sohini was talking about, having employers come in and really shape the curriculum, we really take this into career services as well. And so for career services, we really like to expose FourthBrain students to employers through different facets. And so the first way is through guest speaking. So, the moment that you start your journey at FourthBrain, you're going to be exposed to various different guest speakers. We've had guest speakers come in from, different companies like Ibotta, Samsung, Isotope, and really these guest speakers share their experiences, whether that's their career journey. We've even had guest speakers come in and talk about specific technical topics, right? So NLP, etc. And we also really put an emphasis on ethics. So if you're really interested in ethics and how how ethics really shapes AI, we have a week dedicated to a speaker to come in and talk about ethics. So you'll be exposed to guest speaking from day one, well, week one, and basically this, for previous FourthBrain students have used this as an opportunity to network with employers. So for example, a guest speaker will come in, right? And then you'll get this opportunity to network with this guest speaker, and you can connect. A lot of them are very gracious. You can connect with them on LinkedIn, talk to them about any, jobs that you're interested in, and they've been really involved with FourthBrain. So that's one way that we like to facilitate engagement with employers. You'll also be exposed to informational interviews and mock interviewing. And so informational interviews are a great way to meet with an industry professional, ask them any kind of question that you have about whether it's your career path, whether it's a special topic in MLE, but really having that initial conversation with someone who's worked in the field is really going to help you decide, what kind of career path you want to take for machine learning engineering. And we find that, previous students have really enjoyed talking to people within industry. For mock interviewing as well, we will connect you to someone who's worked in the field to really guide any mock interviewing practice that you need help with, whether it's technical, whether it's, you just want to go over like a couple of questions or, ask, questions about maybe how their company sees things. We'll connect you with an employer who will really review technical interviewing questions so that when you're interviewing, you feel really prepared. You've gone over these questions with an industry professional and you really understand what it means to get the job in terms of like technical interviewing. And lastly, we have project presentation day. This is a really, really fun day where you all get to kind of, Molly's laughing. It's a fun day where you just get to present your projects to employers who are really interested in the work that you've been doing. And just to kind of echo what Sohini was saying about like the capstone projects, with industry professionals who have sponsored these capstone projects, they also come to project presentation day. So it's really awesome to get this feedback from an employer who's sponsored a capstone project and then who comes back and says like, I really enjoyed your work, and gives you feedback. And I think it really gives FourthBrain students a really good, a strong resume when they are able to say that like I've worked on an employer driven project, right? So project presentation day is also another great way to kind of look at what your peers have been working on, just kind of network with other people in the field, and really just grow your professional network at large. So at Career Services overall, like we really believe in like employer engagement, and we really do our best to make sure that the employer is involved in all facets of career services. Next.
Great.
Slide. Yeah.
Great. Thanks so much, Miriam. We'll circle back to some career services a little bit later because I think some of our graduates are going to talk about that. So I'll bring some of those questions back to you a little bit later, Miriam. Great. Great. So, okay, so you've listened to all of this. How do you join? What's the admissions process? What does that look like? Who are you looking for? So the program is intended for students who have Python experience. That's a non-negotiable. You need to know Python pretty well to do this. Whether you've learned it professionally or you've learned it on your own, either way is fine. But you do need to be, pretty good at Python. Most of our students are coming from a software or a data science background, but not everybody. And we really welcome people who are not from those backgrounds. So if you are not a software engineer or not a data scientist, that's fine. If you've learned Python somewhere else, that's great. You do need to have some comfort with probability, calculus, and linear algebra. We do have a refresher before you start in day one, but you should be, at least remember some of it. If you don't remember it, go, refresh your memory on Coursera or somewhere else. You should be able to be at least familiar with those topics. Probably the most important thing, a willingness to engage and commit and put yourself out there. These topics can be tough. Some weeks are tougher than others. It is we know that you also have family and work commitments outside of the course. So definitely be willing to show up and put your whole self into those live sessions on Saturdays. The application process is pretty straightforward. We have an online application. It takes about 15 minutes to fill out. Just a quick background of your educational and professional background and what you're looking to do. And then within a day, I'll be sending you an online challenge. It's mainly with Python. There's 2 Python challenges and there's a couple additional questions. As soon as you return that, we may be able to, accept you right away based on your answers and your background. I may also reach out to you to talk to you to get a little bit more information. But I'm always available to talk to you at any point. You can always email me, you can book time with me. So I'm always available to talk. And then, you enroll and we ask you for a deposit to secure your seat, and then you pay the rest when the class starts. Our March cohort, which is in session right now, did go to a wait list. So I do recommend applying early. Our next cohort begins on May 15th. So I would recommend you apply by April 15th if you want, guaranteed time to go through the process and get a spot in the class. Our seats are first come, first serve. So, if you apply and get through the process in a day and, put your deposit down, that's great. If it takes you a long time to go through that process, I can't guarantee that a seat will be available. So all first come, first serve. Great. All right, now on to the best part, our alumni, our graduates who are here. I'm going to stop this sharing the screen so we can see each other a little bit more easily. All right, I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself. Let's start with Jason.
Awesome. I'm Jason Brooks, part of the initial cohort. How much should I say, Molly? Because
I'm sorry. Yep. Tell me a little bit about what you were doing before the program, why you joined, and then what you're doing now.
Sure. So I saw a few of the questions in the chat. I was a teacher, Spanish and Mandarin for 17 years, had no real experience and frankly no business, but saw, as Molly said, the trend, and I was like, hey, I just got to get ahead of this thing, and jumped in, and then got a ton out of the program. It is as intense as they say, but if you put in the work and show up, it's fantastic. And one thing I will say is that in my experience, they treat you like MLE from day one. And I think there's a lot of rhetoric and a lot of folks will say, hey, this is the best experience. But actually, when you show up, it is full bore for, the whole time through. And it's fantastic. I mean, it's this beautiful dance of you get beat up, but it feels great. And you make progress and it feels horrible and it feels great. And you get stuck and you talk to your classmates and everybody's stuck in the same process, but you push through. So I'll stop there. But it is everything as advertised.
And what are you doing now after the program?
Thank you. for reminding that. So we took our final project, and after fits and starts, sort of applied to YC, and we're waiting to hear back from Y Combinator and diving full headlong into the edtech startup world. So really excited, and couldn't have done it, frankly, without FourthBrain.
Great. I'll ask you to expand on your project a little bit later.
Sure.
So be ready. Wilson, can you tell us what you were doing before, why you joined the program, and then what you're doing now?
Sure. Thanks, Molly. Hello, everyone. My name is Wilson, and I'm currently a software engineer. And before the program, I was still a software engineer. And so the reason why I want to join this program is that I want to see what machine learning really has to offer. I always feel, we have been living in the age where AI has been a buzzword, and it's like a mystery to me. And I really want to see what exactly is machine learning and what it can do. So that's why I joined this program. And I think the experience has been extremely rewarding. I got the insight into the machine learning, and I got almost every aspect of the machine learning. I touched almost every aspect. And the program has been designed to be really close to the actual work a machine learning engineer will be doing. And I can speak from my experience that I recently worked with another team on a ML kind of like a project. I think the things we talk about during the program is exactly the things that I was working on. So so that's extremely helpful. And what else?
What are you doing right now? So
right now. So currently, like I said, so this a program has allowed me to because my current company is a big software company, and we have AI has been our company's priority now. This AI has to be implemented across all the business unit. So I got the chance to work on an AI project. So that's what I'm doing now.
Wonderful. Great. And then Mohit.
Thank you, Molly. So I'm Mohit. I work as a data scientist in a startup which develops tech products for the trucking industry. So I deal with almost all aspects of the AI lifecycle, like data gathering, modeling, and sending models into production. And that is one of the specific reasons why I joined this program, because I did my master's in business analytics. I did Coursera courses, built a base of knowledge, but most of those things actually couldn't give me that main aspect of actually sending models into production, because that is where all the money is, right? Because a model in a Jupyter notebook can't actually deliver value to a company. So it needs to speak to the already existing applications and deliver value. So that was really helpful as part of the program. That I came for that. I got the value from there. And another thing that one of the main reasons I joined programs like this, because there's an accelerated learning, right? So there's a structured program with the constant feedback, and they actually point you to in the right direction, where you should look, and which is the fastest path to reach the place that you want to go to. So you are not figuring most of the things out on your own. There's a lot of help. So it was very helpful for me. And where I am right now, so I'm in the same role that I was before, but we are building way better products right now, because some of the things that was taught as part of the program, like self-supervised learning, are actually helping our company actually utilize lesser data to actually deliver more value, which is actually one of the biggest challenges that most companies face. So yeah, that's
great. Thanks so much. I have a couple questions to ask the graduates before we move on to the questions coming from the students. So Mohit, I'm going to start with you. Tell me about how you picked your capstone project and sort of why you worked on, or tell us what the project is first, and then how you picked it.
So my capstone project was actually an industry-sponsored project by Samsung. So the initial scope of the project was actually to use self-supervised learning to actually reduce the amount of data that we need for a classification task. So this was to diagnose like 4 categories of eye diseases from images. So from retinal OCT scans to be specific. So one of the biggest challenges that actually the biggest challenge in the medical industry is actually to get labeled images, because annotating is really costly, right? So this project dealt with actually using fewer labels to actually deliver a lot of value rather than actually make doctors label a lot of data. So and in the end, actually, we came up with a framework to actually do this even better than this just use a self-supervised learning approach. And we have even under Sohini's guidance, we have even submitted a paper to an IEEE conference. So I'll get to the point where like what was the reasoning behind selecting the project. So there were like 2 main reasons why I came to this project. So this will help actually the future students to select their topic. The main thing I would suggest is when you're selecting a project is to actually select some project that would actually solve a problem that you faced in the past. So this actually gives a personal touch to the project. So facing a dearth of data was something that happened in one of my previous projects in the company, which made it even more. So I when I was working on this project, I had an idea of what impact this would have, which made me work even harder, which gave me even more motivation to actually work on this stuff. So yeah, selecting a project that actually will add a lot of value will be helpful. Another thing is actually to go for a really challenging project, because you have really good guidance. So you're working with like really brilliant people who are guiding you. So might as well go for aim for the fence and just go for a really tough project, because that's where you'll get most of the value from. So that's my suggestion for actually the Capstone project.
Great. Wonderful. Thanks so much. Jason, could you tell us a little bit about your project?
I'd love to. So first of all, I'd echo everything that Mohit said. So I told you I was a teacher at the beginning, and we've been online for 1.5 years, and we just didn't know how to do it. We had to learn on the fly. So I'll show you these, and I showed these to Molly during my admissions interview, because I was like, hey, I have a thing I want to solve. So for the past 1.5 years, I've been tracking like student discussions by hand, and in the admissions process and throughout the program, I said, hey, like, I want to automate this. This is ridiculous that I have a file that I'm still going to hang on to, and I've got to figure out something to do with it. So that really drove a lot of the passion behind it. And as you're going through all of the different units in the course, it was really trying to find, okay, what pieces of the curriculum can I apply to this specific problem? And it was just really cool just to see how as you show up with a real problem that you're passionate about solving, you have, no joke, the best experts in the field to help you, right? So we were shooting for words that I couldn't even pronounce at the beginning of the program, and now I dream about them. Like diarization is one of them, which is the breaking down of who speaks in a recording. But I would encourage you to really shoot for the moon, because at least in my life, I've never yet been surrounded by so much expertise that can help and push my thinking and really push it to the edge. So yeah.
Great, thanks so much. And Wilson, can you tell us about your capstone project?
Yes. And regarding my capstone project, I have to bring up Matt. And Matt is a musician, and he came up with the idea to train a model that will turn a raw audio into professional sound quality, like audio. And I think one of the cool things about this program is that you got a chance to meet people from different backgrounds. You can tell from this panel. We have like teachers, we have entrepreneurs, and then for my group project, I work with one teammate, which is a musician, and my another teammate is an entrepreneur. So it's really cool thing to get to meet people from different backgrounds. And yes, my capstone project which is to train a deep learning model. It's a supervised learning that will take like a raw audio as the input, and then the model will convert that into a professional sound quality, like audio. It will remove the noise, some like additional like artifacts from the audio to make it sound great.
Great, thanks so much. I will, in a few minutes, I will put a link to a blog post. We actually posted all of our students' projects with their GitHubs and recordings for a few of them up on our blog. I'll put the link in the chat in a minute so you can go read more about what Mohit and Jason and Wilson all worked on. Great. Okay, I'm going to move on to some questions that I have been tracking throughout the time. Keep asking questions. We will do our best to get to as many as we can. So the first question that's come up a few times is about the projects and how you pick them. I'll answer briefly. Sohini, or if any of the graduates want to add to that, by all means add. So like we've mentioned, we do have some industry sponsored projects. So we will present them to you and you may work on them. You don't have to, you can come with your own idea. The other thing that's key about the Capstone project is that you will be working in a team of 2 or 3 students. So if you come in and you don't have an idea, that's okay. You can join in with somebody else that has a good idea because they will be trying to recruit 1 or 2 other people to work with them. So you pick what project you work on. And then if anybody wants to add to that, go ahead.
Well, I'll add a few lines here. Is again, there are 2 kinds of projects like we are mentioning, and I saw some of the chats. It's about the industry sponsored projects. Yes, the industrial sponsored projects, they do come with data sets, but most of the times the data sets are actually public data sets. So because we want to ensure that these are projects that you can show off at the end of your program and not just keep them locked up. So the goal is for you to have a very enhanced GitHub, profile at the end of it, where you have your project repo, where you have multiple commits from multiple engineers, so that you can talk about it in your interviews. That you have worked with other engineers, you've committed code together, and there has been like a continuous integration pipeline that you worked on. So most of the data sets that we work on, they are industrial grade. That means they are a few tens of gigabytes large, and then they are actually very close, like a digital twin to the requirements of what the companies have. I'll actually leave it to Wilson. Their final demo was actually on top of a GPU processor. But then it was capable of denoising a WAV file in less than 40 seconds. So that's the kind of deployed outcome that the students were able to achieve. So yes, the data sets are industry grade, but most of them are public data sets.
Great, thank you. I'm going to talk about a couple of program questions, and then I'm going to move on to a couple of the career services questions. So one of the questions that I see a lot are, who are the instructors who teaches this course? So we have a certain profile of instructors and TAs that we look for. Sohini, do you want to answer this in terms of who our instructors are and who our TAs are?
Yes, absolutely. So whenever you work, on these live sessions and with your, offline sessions, there are always going to be a one lead instructor. And I was the instructor for the first cohort for the grads here. And then we have another instructor, for the March cohort right now. We want to make sure that the instructor profiles are as similar to mine or the current instructor, who is Dr. Bernie Bosco, as possible. So they will be people who have very strong academic focus so that they can mentor the projects and guide them, but they also have some amount of industrial exposure so that they know what kind of projects actually make a difference. There is also going to be a subject matter expert in this case who will be mentoring you or guiding you through your project process, and we will also have TAs throughout the whole process. So in the initial part, the TAs will help you with your offline assignments, and if you get stuck during the day on the live session day, but towards the end, the TA becomes your buddy, so that if you have issues logging onto AWS, if you're having issues with GCP, or logging in, or even facing very small roadblocks, so we will have guidance. We will have actual guidance from somebody in the academic as well as industrial foray, and also we will have a TA who will be your buddy in deblocking you through the whole process.
And we hire the number of TAs and assign them hours based on the number of students in the cohort. So we always make sure that there are enough support for each of you as you join. Great. I wanted to give a note about briefly about the Tuesday, Thursday versus Saturday option. I saw a couple questions. For our upcoming May cohort, we will have both options. So you can enroll in either the Saturday program or the Tuesday, Thursday evening program. To be upfront, they each have minimum enrollment requirements. So, we cannot guarantee that they will both run. There will be at least one of them. But when you apply and enroll, we will ask you your choice and then fill them accordingly. Great. Okay. I'm going to move on a little bit to career services. So one note, this is, Mohit and Jason and Wilson are part of our very first cohort. They just graduated less than 2 months ago. So we don't have official stats to share on job placement or, how many people got new jobs. But Miriam can talk a little bit about, what some of our other graduates are doing.
Yeah, thanks, Molly. So what's really exciting about placement so far is that when I was talking a little bit about career services, I mentioned a lot about employer engagement. And so what's really great about career services is that we have a couple of candidates who are going through interview processes with employers that have come to project presentation day or who have really engaged in partner projects. So what's really great about FourthBrain is that, if you come, you get engaged, you have all these specific touch points with employers. An employer might actually be interested in the work that you're doing and put you through an interview process. So I think that's why at Career Services, we really harp on this idea of facilitation between the student and the employer. So I hope that kind of answers the question, Molly.
Yes, absolutely. And would you be able to briefly share maybe a few of the partners that maybe came to Project Demo Day or have sent guest speakers, a few of our partners?
Yeah, so I think Samsung is a really big one, as Mohit mentioned. We also had companies like Expedia come to Project Presentation Day. We had Google come to Project Presentation Day. We also had Microsoft. Microsoft also ended up guest speaking for our last cohort. Ibotta as well. So we have a couple of we have a lot of really engaged employers. We also have Cisco. Cisco's really been involved this past, for this past cohort. They've kind of designed an industry project. They're also involved in advising and hopefully guest speaking soon as well. So those are just a couple of employers to date.
Great, thank you. I also want to add a couple of notes related to some questions, and Miriam, you can expand on this if you want. I see some questions about career services for international students. And I also wanted to add some clarification about the job seeking process. So many students who come to us are looking for a new job. And our program is designed to prepare you for a machine learning engineer role, but not everybody's looking for a new job. Some people are looking to start their own company. Some people are looking to just gain skills for their current job. So wherever you are in your career path, that's fine. We are here to give you the skills and you can apply them how you would like. And if any of our grads want to elaborate on that before we move to international, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead, Molly.
So yeah, like Molly and Mariam said, so they actually do give place you at a better place to find a new job. And there were a few people like me who are not actually looking to move immediately. We are just planning ahead for the future, trying to expand on the skills. And actually, there are a lot of recruiters who actually get in touch with you after this program. So especially everyone from my team in the Samsung project, we are actually in conversation with people from Samsung and even from the recruiting team there. Even some other companies like Page.ai. So it actually opens up a lot of doors for you. Walking is your choice, but yeah, it does help a lot.
Thanks.
Yeah, I would just add also, there is a focus on the holistic approach. From day one, you're with Miriam and Sohini and Salwa and Molly, just talking about literal end to end. And what I mean by that is walking out of your door into a company's door. right? And there's a lot of focus on what does it look like your Jupyter Notebook and PyTorch and all the other things, which is like important, but also how do you cold call somebody? Do you network with them? Right? I'll never forget, Miriam was like, hey, from day one, you need to be having 2 networking meetings a week. And I was like, whoa, really? Like, I didn't think about that thing, but that's a part of the process that starts in so many other sort of processes that I've been through. Right? You're like, oh yeah, you got to get a job at the end. Yeah, go do these things with 4 weeks to go. But that is the focus from all the way from the beginning to the end. And the other piece that I would say about, I mean, the chunk, it is an educational program, but also I think the balance that Sohini in particular has of having the industry experience with university academic experience, for me was super helpful because yeah, you can, I don't think anybody has a monopoly on information. You can find that information on the internet, but what this program gives you is that you have people who will hold you to an incredibly high standard and believe in you. And those are the 2 things that you can't really mimic. And it's really hard to do on your own, to have somebody be like, no. I'm like, your best, is it the best you can do? Like, no, I actually didn't sleep last night. That is my best. She's like, no, you have to do much better, right? And to have all of those different pieces of the experience, to me, are invaluable. So
Yeah, I
Great.
think, yeah, I mean, can I just share a little bit about myself? I mean, before the program in my LinkedIn, I only have like a 0 to 1 emails per day. But after the program, once I put my skill set, everything on my LinkedIn profile, my inbox has like a 3 to 5 inbox messages every day. The recruiter, I mean, machine learning is a hard skill. I mean, the program gives you a strong foundation. And so I'm not immediately looking for a career change, because I still want to like dig more into a machine learning area. For example, computer vision, natural language processing, or reinforcement learning. So currently, I think I want to pursue like a career in reinforcement learning. So robotics, I mean, it's something that is really, really like attractive to me. And I mean, if you guys like listen to like a recent like Elon Musk like interview, robotic programming is a very, very, very hard skill now. I mean, they are looking for, people who can program or train robots. So, so for my plan, I would like to, this program has given me a strong foundation. It opens up a lot of possibilities for me and a lot of paths to me. So I would say like I would take a time and also like explore different like paths.
Well, if I could add something too,
Absolutely.
real quickly, like I think one of the things that we value here at FourthBrain is helping students really focus on what their goals are and meeting their goals. So like as you heard from like Mohit, Jason, Wilson, right? They all had different goals, right? So like we really believe that it's our job to help them meet their goals. So whether your goal is to become an entrepreneur, whether your job is to like upskill for another, within your company or to get promoted or whatever it is, like we really try to focus ourselves to help you reach your goal and not have it be like, okay, after the program, you need to get a job. So I think that's really what's special about kind of everyone's journey because it's all different, right? But I like hearing that they've all met their goals or they're at least in the process of doing that. So yeah.
Great. And Miriam, can you just speak briefly about the international students and kind of what career services would look like for them?
Yeah. So, going back to, really understanding what what student goals are, we really try to help students really reach their goal. And when it comes to international students, their goals really might be different. And so we really try to understand, what is your end goal and how can we help you do that? And sometimes that's, that really depends on, what are you trying to achieve? What is available in your specific company? And so we are here as resources to help you really reach those specific goals. And if that means, that, we focus on mock technical interviewing or that, you attend guest speaker sessions, like you have access to that, but it's really going to be tailored to what is your need, what is your goal, and what are the resources that we can use to help you accomplish that.
Great, thank you. So that being said, for students who are outside of the US, for people from anywhere in the world can attend this program. We have no restrictions on locations, but like Miriam said, the career services and the support that we may be able to offer you might be a little bit different based on where you're located and what your country is. Great. All right, we're getting near the end of the hour, so I want to just answer a couple questions, and then I'll try to circle back. We may go a little bit beyond 1 p.m., so hope that's all right with everybody. I want to talk a little bit about tuition and payments and scholarship options. So our like I said, our tuition is $6,000. We can spread that payment out over 3 months if that makes it a little bit easier for you. If the cost is a hardship, when you apply, please mention that in your application and we can talk about it. At this moment, we don't have any official or formal scholarship programs at the moment. So, we're not able to offer full scholarships to very many people. We are hoping to announce some scholarship programs very, very soon. But generally speaking, what we can offer is spreading those payments out over a longer period of time. So that's something that you could talk about, during the application process with me. Okay, so let me just double check that I get to some of these other questions. There's some questions about, given that the program is new, do you provide career support after the program ends? Miriam, do you want to answer that in one sentence?
Yeah, sure. So we do provide career support after the bootcamp ends or after the program ends, and basically, we like to focus on really helping you achieve your goals. And so, you're more than welcome to use like me, Molly, Sohini as a resource, but you do have access to career services at least up to 6 months after the program. And if you need any other specific like help or anything like that, again, we are all resources and we are really dedicated to helping you meet your career goals. So
great. So there's a question for Sohini, and that was about the curriculum. Sorry, let me just re-find it real quick. I accidentally scrolled away from it. Can you talk a little bit about the like the Capstone resources that we give you, like an AWS, and kind of how that works?
Sure. So that is actually a very common question that we get, is the programming environment. I mean, a lot of people ask, do you really need to buy a GPU machine in order to do this? The answer is no. Most of the assignments you can actually do in Colab. We actually have Colab versions for all of the live assignments in the first part. For part 2, whenever you get to your capstone projects, we do offer AWS credits and GCP credits. So Google Cloud and AWS, think about it, the cost is already baked into the tuition. So during that part, during your project where you actually collaborate with your teammates to work towards this deployable demo, you will actually be using FourthBrain resources in order to get to the final finished product. So if you don't have your own AWS resources or GCP, not a problem. We will be sending you invites, but only for the projects, you will be using the FourthBrain credits.
Great, thank you. Great. So there's a couple of questions about the background knowledge of students. So I'll just quickly review that again. Python is our key prerequisite. It is part of our admissions process. We will be assessing your Python skills. We don't teach Python, and we do expect you to come in at a certain level. Whether you learn that on the job and you use it professionally, or you learned it on your own, either way is fine. But you do need to be very proficient in Python. Most of our students are coming from a software or data background, but not everybody, and we welcome people from other backgrounds. We also have quite a range in terms of level. So we have students, generally they have at least a couple years of professional experience, all the way up to people who've been CTOs of their company. So the range of background experience and the seniority level is quite a range. So if you are more senior, you will not be alone when you come. And if you're more mid-level or junior, we also welcome you. Like Miriam said, we're looking to meet you, where you are in your career journey and kind of help you take those next 2 steps, whatever those next 2 steps may be. I have another question that I think is a great question. We've been talking all about the great things that we do. What are some of the improvements that we've made? So Mohit and Jason and Wilson can attest, I surveyed them all the time. I send surveys twice a week, asking them for feedback. What can we improve? A couple of the key things that we improved from the first cohort to the second cohort is how the live sessions were run. So we tried a few different methods during that first cohort, and we think we landed on something that works a little bit better and is pretty efficient. So that's one of the major changes that we've kind of done along the way. Our capstone picking process, we're changing it for our second cohort based on feedback. So there's a few things that we certainly have been improving based on their feedback.
Yeah,
and I don't know if you go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to add one more thing is another change we made from the first cohort to the second one is rather than just having a capstone, which is in part 2, to add enhanced engagement, we actually even have an individual project in the first 8 weeks. So students actually get to pick a project on the first day itself, and you can actually start applying the concepts every single week onto that project, and you get regular feedback. You can start building code. Generally, those are data sets from Kaggle, so you can always have starter code from Kaggle itself. But in a way, you're sort of getting your creative choices running so that once you get to the capstone, you actually know you have a better concrete idea as to what you really want as your final capstone, and you've already gotten a lot of individual and not coddled coding, but actually completely on your own sort of coding experience. So these are a couple of changes we've made over the cohorts. And we continue to make changes, I believe, to make it more efficient so that you will have more time as the batches grow, as the number of students grow. We always want to make sure there's enough communication. Your classmates, because the amount of learning, and I believe the students can attest to that, they have from each other is immensely more than the learning that we can provide. And that's, we always want to stay true to that essence.
Great, thank you. All right, well, we're just about at time. So before we leave, Mohit, Jason, and Wilson, can you leave us with one thought, either a piece of advice for a prospective student or something you think they should know about the program, something that you think all these people watching should know?
I would actually like to add on what Sohini said. That is actually the part that is not actually visible directly to the students right now. So the best part about this program is actually the interaction you have with your cohort mates. You find a bunch of really brilliant people who are extremely motivated, and you just have to look around to actually get motivated. Every day I used to, sometimes it's very difficult to get to the extra credits assignments that Sohini used to give us during the weekends. But there were people who used to consistently do it, and you look at that, you get motivated to try even harder the next week. And even the kind of engagement that you see every day in class is insane. You learn a lot from the people around you, and that's actually the biggest part that you won't be actually getting from the website or anything. According to me, that's the best part of the program.
Yeah, I think my advice is kind of similar to Mohit's, like come to the program with a purpose. Either it's a personal purpose or professional purpose. So so they will keep you on track every week, and also keep you focused. And the last thing I want to mention is this program really gives you a very, very strong foundation. Once you have the foundation, it opens up a lot of possibilities. So yeah.
I think as the last person to go, I would say 3 things. One, and I'm kind of half joking, but not really. Be prepared to give up your Friday nights because 6 hours on a Saturday is 6 intense, engaged hours. And then there's a question also about how long. I didn't have any software engineering professional experience. I think I was kind of tinkering in my backyard and being like, I can do these things. Not really. So I had to dedicate 4 hours a day, one to learn the math, one to learn the programming, and another to learn how to apply those in an ML context. And I think, and I say this with deep respect for my classmates, I've had the privilege to go to some really, really good schools. Ivy League school, right? I've not run with faster horses. These are incredibly talented people who are incredibly motivated. And Mohit talked about the leaderboard, and Sohini put these folks are so good that I didn't even submit one leaderboard assignment because I'm running full speed just to stay with the pack. And I think that you're going to find that experience some places, but also the pack. Everybody in the pack is cheering for you, and that's a huge difference for you, right? Because you see, 1 through 25, and you're like, you see some people at the top, you're like, man, I'm never going to get there, but that person is cheering for you to beat them. And it's just this really productive cycle of, hey, I figured this thing out. Did you do it? Or like, hey, like I'll come back. I've never been in an experience where people at the front will come back to make sure that the people at the back of the pack, so-called back of the pack, are all together. So those three things. And I think the bad thing, the hard thing is that at the end, you'll have a lot of options and you'll have to make a really sober choice on, do I go into industry? Do I stay where I'm at? Or do I start my own thing? And that for me was the hardest decision, because you have a lot of legitimate options from names we would all recognize. And having to figure out, okay, now I do have this superpower combined with my previous experience, whether it's an industry or not. What do I do with it? So you get hit with this like kind of big existential question of like, I have 60 more years on this planet. What do I want to do? Because I have these superpowers. So that would be my bit, but do it. And then connect on LinkedIn if you have other questions. I'm happy to help.
Great. Thank you, all of you. I really appreciate your time and coming to talk to us and coming to talk to all of our prospective students. We're going to wrap up now. If we didn't get to your question, please email us at info@fourthbrain.ai. I will put it in the chat so you can all see it. Submit your application. It's fourthbrain.ai/apply. I see lots of names in there of people I've already been talking to, so it's really good to see you here, and hopefully this helps answer some of those outstanding questions that you had. If there is anything else that we can answer for you, like I said, if you're already in touch with me, feel free to reach out to me. If you're not, either submit your application or email that info@fourthbrain.ai. Thanks again. This recording will be here, so you can always come back and rewatch parts of it. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And thank you all so much for coming.